Ladies and gents, welcome back to another Engineers podcast. Today I'm joined by Olivier Richaud, who's VP of Platform at Symphony. Symphony are a mission critical product for financial institutes to communicate securely and compliantly. We're going to be talking a little bit about how their product is mission critical and actually some of the decisions architecturally and technology wise that they've made throughout this process to make it such a mission critical product. And we're going to be talking about some really interesting things from single tenancy to multi tenancy, from monoliths to services. And of course, there's a range of different things in there as well. So, enough of me. Olivier, thanks for coming to join the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Pleasure. So, first and foremost, intro you and also give us an intro into Symphony.
Okay, I've joined Symphony some 5 years ago and progressively took over the vice president role for the engineering on the technical platforms with the main objective to ensure a technically successful platform with a stable operations, the ability to foster innovation. So my organization comprises all the cloud infrastructure, the mission critical backends, and the SRE organization. So by essence, we are a distributed organization in the US, EMEA, and APAC. And we manage the Symphony messaging platform and the Cloud9 voice platforms, which are one of the two of the four platforms. So what is so interesting in such a mission critical platform, which is used by key players like HSBC, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all the financial institutions. So we offer four interconnected platforms for messaging, for voice. It is formerly known as Cloud9, Directory, and Analytics. So opening wide AI capabilities on top of these platforms. So we offer, in essence, secure collaboration and workflows via messaging or voice for financial services. And it's sort of a hub for market workflows with messaging, structured data, and voice. All of this combined with modern chat, video. We offer five screen sharing capabilities, but also key market voice capabilities so that you can speak to a trader on a trader floor. And this is used with an interface which is oriented towards capital markets. So it's not the messaging platform that you know. It's less convenient for standard users, very oriented to capital markets. We offer automation, of course, with open APIs, the capability to develop bots. It's an essential part. So we offer software development kits in Java, in other languages, so that third parties can integrate, develop bots. Our customers develop bots. So it's an important part of the automation. And we offer desktop, of course, applications for our users. We offer a mobile application, which has been recognized in the industry as a solution purely dedicated to this industry. And it offers the capability to move from the in-office activities to more hybrid operations since COVID struck us some years ago. So it's really fostering hybrid work. So I would say this is what makes Symphony so important for our customers.
I think what you guys have built, because we've discussed this offline, and the nature of how you've built your product, you speak about automation, you speak about flexibility, but there's a couple of really important things that I do want to touch on which make your product so mission critical. The latency and the uptime. You need these for financial institutions. So we've got a myriad of things to talk about, but it'd be great to try and understand, your focus as an organization, just how you focus on those 2 points.
I would say stability, scalability, low latency are key to all services delivered to users, even uh, personal users. But in this industry, in the financial industry, we've been recognized as key players offering an SLA which is above 99.98%, which is very good, with a strong focus also on mean time to recovery, because we know that sometimes everything doesn't go well, and we have to provide a very stable, self-healing platform. So we invested a lot into that. And it's why some institutions I mentioned, like JP Morgan, Bank of America, and HSBC, are really having Symphony at the core of their mission critical workflow. So we are a key player. We offer voice. We offer a voice. You understand that you need to be able to have a perfect call. We need to have messages delivered with a very low latency. We're not a low latency stock market infrastructure, but we have to be reliable because we foster communications between different companies, not only internal communications. So we have to be super reliable. So everything we have invested in was oriented towards the stability, this capability to grow and support bad times. Because we know it happens. It can be our own system. It can be third-party systems, but we have to deal with that. That's super important for us.
Talk to us about that investment. You've won awards, you've got some great uptime numbers, and I know that's down to the technological and architectural choices that you've made. And we've got a couple of topics to talk about, which are single tenancy to multi tenancy, monoliths to services. It would be great for us if you can break that down and help us understand some of the choices that you've made and how they unlock these capabilities for you.
Think before discussing monolith, service-oriented architectures, the microservices, um, the main consideration is where you put the bar for operational stability, and the simplification and standardization you want to introduce towards snowflakes who were coming from a single tenant architecture that we were replicating. And we said we want to be more nimble, more agile, and we wanted to go to a multi-tenant architecture. Also, you have to operate at a cost, despite you want to achieve a certain level of stability and scalability. So the total cost of ownership is important. And also this is a key factor driving the introduction of services, because you can rely on a shared infrastructure and scale your different services to better serve or be more resilient to outages or bad times. So with that in mind, we said security first. Security is at the core. So we consider our approach towards security, our approach to how we provide compute and orchestrate the services on top of this compute infrastructure and the data stores. And we said this has to be standardized. This has to be standardized. We have to provide a secure infrastructure. So we said, okay, we have a monolith and we need to unpick the core services embedded into this monolith, okay, and decide how we progressively extract them so that we provide better stability, better scalability, and we can consider them as functions running independently. That's the biggest driver. And at the same time, when you perform this operation, you come from a single tenant infrastructure and you say, okay, I want to become multi-tenant. So you have to introduce decisions in how you manage the data source, the data you store, how you logically segment securely the data, how you don't break stability at the same time. Because let's face reality, a single tenant infrastructure is resilient by style. Okay, so you enter in a different world. So we revisited the multi-tenancy, the way the services work, the way we isolate the data, and we made some bets in terms of technologies. So there's another additional point I want to introduce. We believe in what I call cloud agnosticism. So I don't know if it's the correct word for that, but being cloud agnostic means that you understand the cloud as resources like water, electricity, and you tap into that. Okay. So you say, okay, what does it mean for our tooling, for our databases, and globally, is it available? And I believe in open source as well. So we've made some clear decisions from the ground up with Kubernetes, for example. We understand everybody comes from a, I would say, Linux perspective. So Kubernetes is just a generalization of that, meaning that you are the OS for the open source. Now we have the operating system for the data center. So we said Kubernetes is a natural extension. Containerization comes as a given. So we said, and it's also a way to introduce security at the root, and with a major shift at the very beginning, not saying I will secure at the end. No, we shifted left the security down to the container, down to the way we operate the containers, and then security naturally came in. So we clearly say this as a zero trust approach, and we saw the opportunity was really simple to say, and we said it is by definition, no discussion around that. And for us, I come from a cloud infrastructure background and engineering background at the same time, and we said site reliability engineering has to become very software engineering oriented. So we believe in software development to manage homogeneous infrastructure across the board, and also in the way we manipulate the compute, but also the databases. And also coming back to the standardization we wanted to have, we said, okay, let's focus on services which are available in multiple cloud providers like Amazon, Google Cloud, and we said, okay, Mongo Atlas, for example, is available, and we can decide on that. We said Elastic is available, and we don't say we're going to operate that. We're going to rely on services provided by specialized actors. So I would say there's two corner cases because you don't find sometimes the equivalent. There's a big table. We come from an edge-based background where we were storing our messages. So big table, for example, with Google Cloud is an essential part because it was edge-based client compatible, for example. So we are not, I would say, we're strong opinionated, but we don't ignore the reality. So sometimes we have to understand that.
Smart. Okay. There's a number of things in there that I think are really interesting, and a couple of things that I want to pull apart. The standardization. So understanding how you standardize a way of thinking throughout your organization would be really interesting. And also site reliability being, foundationally software engineering. I think that's a really interesting approach that you've all taken to site reliability, and things should be autonomous, things should be automation driven. I'd really love to understand those two principles in what make up your organization and what make up your infrastructure, because they seem to be quite key as to how you drive things through Symphony. The standardization part and the SRE part, and things as automation, things as code, if you like.
I'd say we've taken 4 years ago the assumption that we want to have microservices, and if we believe in that, we, the SRE organization, uh, under a necessary change. And the change was okay, we provide a foundation where the orchestration will be a given and everything will be a software. So the infrastructure is software. We define the infrastructure like we define a software. We use the same tools. We understand. We come from a software engineering background, and we've been exposed to operations. So we've said, okay, it's GitHub. If you store configuration, if you store scripts, if you store recipes, and so on and so forth. So it has to be software managed. So we proceed to qualification, we proceed to unit tests. We consider that not different because it's infrastructure. That's the first thing. So we say we want to consider engineering, software engineering in this sense, and then apply the principles for operations, how you manage your changes, and so on and so forth. But not the other way around. Okay, that's what's the most important decision. The second decision from us, SRE is good to provide you with a stable infrastructure, the tooling. We introduced tooling like Argo CD, and not because we decided Argo CD is good for SRE. We said it is good for the software engineers who will manage microservices, and we will deliver the microservices in test systems and in production the same way. It's not different for them. They have less risk on test systems, but it hasn't to be different. So we said it's super important to provide such tools and provide this flexibility. In the end, we are responsible for the SLA. We help the others to achieve the SLA. We don't impose the SLA, or we don't pretend to be better than the owners of the services to manage the SLA. So we consider ourselves as helpers. Okay, so we have to decide which tools are the ones that will help the software engineers, and they are associated in this decision. The second thing is that it's a reflection on what we can decide. For example, beyond DevOps, which is not a function, but which is a way of doing things, I'd say, which is very different from SRE, which is oriented towards the stability and the infrastructure. But we don't have to decide on the languages. We operate fleets of containers. We orchestrate at scale. So despite we're a Java shop for the software engineering, we told them, you can introduce Go. In the end, what does it change for us? If we have matrix, we correct matrix. If we understand how you operate, then you can decide whatever you want. Then you have to understand, is it mature? Is it battle tested for yourself? Do you have reliable frameworks? Okay, go check all those boxes. So you can go for that. They were after it's more a discussion for themselves. Do they want to multiply the languages? Do they want to be cloud agnostic? I personally share that because we operate not only the cloud infrastructure, but the mission critical backend for the messaging part. This is under my responsibility. So at the same time, I was also dismantling the monolith, offering new capabilities, and giving them more flexibility, more freedom. So 4 years ago, we were doing releases during the weekend. Today, we can deliver every day. in a zero downtime manner, with unnoticeable downtime. So that's a big change, especially because we manipulate smaller chunks.
Yeah, that is a big change.
Yeah, it
What's
is.
that journey been like to get from point A to point B? What have you
I
learned in that journey as well?
I would say everybody's enthusiastic at the beginning. Okay.
Yeah,
Because everybody speaks about services, microservices, and but in the end, the most important is proof that you provide a secure, flexible, stable infrastructure everybody can rely on. So you don't speak anymore about the infrastructure. Then second thing is make sure that everybody understands the changes that will be brought into production, for example. So it's more about educating people, making sure that the changes that you will bring are visible to everybody, okay? And that you understand that if you roll back a change, it's not a failure. It has to be tested. So if you roll back, okay, it's not what you wanted, but it's not a failure in itself. The failure will be not to be able to roll back. So that's the biggest change. After, I think the one of the main points were to provide monitoring observability capabilities to the software engineers so that they understand finally what's happening in the system so that they can become more autonomous, that they can provide, okay, I would say dashboards to support to SRE so that we can uh, understand the nature, the severity, and then introduce people into the resolution and the recovery. So that was a big journey. So today we have invested in tools like Splunk. We're shifting to Grafana. So we use tools like Splunk Concur. So we invested a lot into those tools, and we've given them to the software engineers. That's the most important. So once everybody's understood that design has to be shared, design has to be standardized, that you need to provide visibility, here you are. So it takes a couple of years, I would say, to be there.
yeah, it really does take a long time. A lot of people that I've been speaking to on the podcast have been on this journey over the last few years. There's a lot of focus on incident management, observability, reliability, and what we're building, and how we actually understand some of our data as to what's happening in our system. So it's a lot more prevalent now, understanding that, than it ever has been. I think so. Good to see the investment. Not surprised. It's taken a little bit of time. Going back to some of the technology decisions that you've made alongside investing in observability, it would be great to understand, what it's been like, moving services from one cloud to another, investing in that strategy, also moving from single tenancy to multi-tenancy. There's been so much going on inside your organization, those two parts, and how you balance all of that as well.
So I would say we took the decision, for example, to move part of our platforms, mainly the messaging platform, from AWS to Google Cloud. And as I said, one of the decisions was about renovating, renewing the way of doing things. So the technical relationship we built with Google helped us a lot. It's not only in terms of new technologies, it was also having the open conversation about what we're doing. We knew, but it was also passing a message with a third party. That's important. So we achieved that. And we also created strong ties with them. For example, when we decided to move from H-base, we manage ourselves, to Bigtable, which is compatible with H-based client. So we received a lot. And at the same time, as you said, we had to manage single tenancy to multi-tenancy. So multi-tenancy, we had to revisit all our databases, the schemas, so that we understand that we had to understand um, caches inside the single tenant infrastructure. We had to split the caches. We had to move the caches into a larger infrastructure, common shared infrastructure like Redis. So we had to play with that. At the same time, we had to make some choices because you have to, in the end, you have to have a solution which reaches production. So it's very easy in such a discussion to say, no, we're not ready. No, we're not ready. We need to invest into that again and again and again. So we accepted, for example, not to have the microservices of our dreams. Okay. Some people in my organization, I have a few directors and engineers that told me, we're not microservices everywhere. No, we're not. Okay, but it was a decision to take slices, move that. I remember one of the first slices we had was everything which is about compliance, audit trails. Okay, so we said, okay, let's think about that. What does it mean? Okay, so we said, okay, why not Mongo to store all that? We also had a conversation with Mongo, who was introducing a Mongo search. So we are strong guys. I would say brave, strong guys. We decided to go with Mongo Search. It was really new, but the good thing is that you receive a lot of attention from the provider. So it was also a partnership which proved to be very, very interesting. So you see, we take the decision from a technical standpoint, but it's rational. Sometimes it's frustrating. Okay, and we try to introduce a new technology in combination with the provider. So that's that. I think that something we did a couple of times, not only for Mongo, but did that for Confluent Kafka. So we renovated the estate and we use that every time to split the monolith, introduce decoupling. With Confluent, we started to introduce a data mesh in the core of the system for the messaging. Okay, and now we've expanded that to other parts and we are becoming more and more integrated with all the 4 platforms that we have. So I would say we operate AWS, Google the same way, but we believe in EKS for AWS, in GKE for Google, but we use the managed services. But in the end, we come back to infrastructure as code. We come back to Argo CD for the delivery. We come back to containers and fleet of containers to split the monolith. And we use asynchronous messaging for the decoupling of the system. So it's a progressive and I would say iterative work where we split and we split again and we split again and we split again.
I really get that sense. There's multiple different providers being used, there's really clear communication, there's pragmatism that's involved. It's not just one approach works, one system works, and one service works. We're going to use that, invest everything in that. There's a real pragmatic, almost, it's not spread bet, but it's almost like distributed, if you like, way of
I
actually
do.
working and building your systems with different technologies, which I think is a really smart approach for a number of different reasons.
I say a smart approach here is, as you said, it has to be pragmatic. We didn't say everything has to go to Mongo Atlas. We didn't say, okay, DynamoDB, for example, it's AWS. We don't want it anymore. our friends of Market Voice are using it. It offers super capabilities in terms of replication. So, and they invested a lot into that. So we're not coming and say, okay, everything you did is not anymore applicable. We have to be clear. Now, when we say, for example, HBase in itself is not about technology. The the bad, the bad thing in that is that our job is not to operate platforms, databases which are operated much better by, for example, in the case of HBase, we move to Bigtable, much better operated by Google. That's the difference. So it's a bit, do your job. I love that. It was the culture of the patriot. We said, do your job. That's the most important. So our job is to provide infrastructure, not to operate the infrastructure. That's a big difference. So it's very important for us. Again, it's also the best way to provide a secure infrastructure. It's what we realize. That's super important.
I'd be really keen to understand a little bit around what approaches are introduced into the business, and maybe even at a lower level, what technologies are introduced into the business across your organization. You've obviously got this very strong fixed way which works really well for your business of working, of thinking, but it'd be really good to understand the approach in your organization, different teams and what they're doing.
So I would say, in terms of organization, we follow a very standard matrix organization. We own components and then we assemble them. Okay, so it's important also to have sort of a governance. We have a very high architecture governance. I don't believe personally in the ivory tower architects telling everybody what you have to decide. It's as good as can be the person, it's unreachable. Okay, you can govern with people the adoption of standards of technologies, so that everybody understands that he's not going to be alone when using the technology. That's the most important. And also we contain the cost of this technology to a certain level, and we have an educated decision every time you use the technology. That's the way. After, the teams are quite autonomous in their choices. I mean, if they want to split further the service, they have to do it themselves. They have to discuss with their product manager as well to understand whether it's going to bring more stability, more performances. I believe that stability and performance is a feature in itself, for example. Scalability as well. If you have large customers, for example, our technology allowed us to scale. We recently signed Bank of America. It's a very large customer. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of users on the platform. So we have the scalability. So the business understood, the product manager, the business, the sales organization understood the capability of the platform to expand and respond to the needs. So that's very important. They understand also that in terms of flexibility, margin, and so on and so forth. So that's super important. It's where you see the biggest effect in terms of value you bring, and also the fact that we came from a monolith to a microservice. The delivery pace is different. Everything can come separately uh, in pieces, instead of having a 6 months cadence where you need to release and not miss that release, which is the best way to be error prone, if I can say so. So I think that from a business perspective, the people saw the evolution in terms of, I don't like this word, but in terms of agility. I mean, in terms of being capable to provide a new feature, test it, say, okay, Is that good? Instead of promising that, having the feature delivered, the feature can be as good as it can be, but it might not reach its public and can be a big deception because you've waited for that for 6 months instead of saying, okay, let's have a try.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's the biggest, I would say, it's been difficult because the transition period is where people see less things, more moving to, we didn't block the feature release, but the pace was slower, but now we're getting the benefits, and that's the most important.
Love that. I do want to touch on security. Security is paramount to your business. You know, it's at the core of what you do. Talk to us about security, and that's quite a big umbrella, but storing data securely and every other bit that we've spoken about today. I really want to understand security and what it means to Symphony.
So by definition, Symfony has been built as a secure platform in the sense that, okay, you can store your data at rest, and all cloud providers are going to provide you with a solution which ensure encryption at rest. Okay, but we've also taken the approach to encrypt the content itself with keys which are not owned by ourselves. It's owned by our customers. So we use their keys and we encrypt the content with that. So everything, when I would say, when before we reach a sort of point of demarcation where we cannot be encrypted anymore, it is in the client. When in the client there's a description of the content, so we add the in our DNA the fact that everything had to be secure. So it was secure at rest, in flight, okay, when you transmit the data. We're investing also into our infrastructure, everything which is around the keys, the secrets we're managing. So it's super important. We're investing in uh, detecting the vulnerabilities. Uh, so it's a painful process, I would say, but it has to be. It's really, you are sometimes you don't want to upgrade something because it doesn't bring value, but it has to be. So it's something we put in action. And the last part that we're exploring actively and that we're going to deliver to our customers in 2025 is everything which is around in-use encryption. So we are turning ourselves in towards trusted environment execution. So we're partnering with Google Cloud. So we're going to have our memory secured. Everything is going. The memory itself is encrypted. There's a secure enclave for the execution. It's also providing a lot of capabilities in terms of what we're doing. One of the key examples that we have is we connect to key management systems on-prem by our customers. So with this technology and the investment in this technology, we're going to be able to shift that to the cloud with the same level of confidentiality. And that's really important because also we're going to then understand how we can operate bots automation the same way in secure enclave. So even Symfony won't be able to access to the data in memory. Okay, so that's the proof that we are completely providing a solution which is totally secure to all our customers without being able to interfere. So the second thing is that it might be a bit conservative, but we rely on battle-tested services. Okay, there's no problem with the Dynamo or MongoDB or Bigtable to be used in a secure manner. It has proven to be very secure and effective secure. So when we choose a technology, it's also under this angle we have a very strong CISO organization, which is deeply connected to the engineering and the cloud infrastructure site reliability engineering. So we're partnering really with them. So that's key. And in this secure approach, so it's multi-factor. It's also how we connect to the infrastructure. So of course we have 2FA, but not only we have secure policies, we have a lot of automation to prevent access to our systems, which wouldn't be authorized. So we've invested a lot into that
Love that.
globally.
I can feel it. I can feel it. So, going into 2025, it'd be really good to understand the type of talent that you're looking to attract to the team. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you're looking to bring into the business before we wrap up, over the course of the next 12 months?
So clearly, we're looking for site reliability engineers. We're located in New York, Belfast, and Sophia Antipolis in the south of France, next to Nice. We're looking in those two locations for talented people, experienced people. We have site reliability and software engineering deep in their heart. We're also looking for the same reasons because we're really active for developers, Java developers, I think Go developers as well. Uh, we are very open to candidates from a multicultural background. Uh, I'd say maybe we have more than 20, 25 nationalities only in my organization. I'm sure I can find 10 nationalities. So that's super important to us. We are very diverse in terms of background, previous experience. We love software engineers, as I said, even for site reliability engineering. We post everything most of the time. We relay our offers that can be found on our corporate website, on LinkedIn, other channels. We are very active. We are very open. If you're interested in a position, you can even ping me on LinkedIn. Don't harass me, but you can ping me.
No, do that.
But happy to see people. We are very active. To find people who want to innovate. We have a broad range of technologies. We are a growing company, very active, with seasoned and experienced technical persons.
Love that. I think what I really feel from you is software engineering is at the heart of what you do, whether it's, let's just say, the DevOps movement, way of thinking, insight reliability, everything's built on top of that software engineering foundation. Really smart people, some really interesting product sets that you've got. And, you're signing on businesses like Bank of America as
Yeah,
an example that
incredible.
happened recently. So, business that's going in the right direction. So if you are really interested in Symphony, if you're New York based, if you're South of France based, you should reach out to Olivier. He did say don't pester him, but go onto the corporate website as well, and understand what opportunities are right for you.
Thank you so
So,
much.
yeah, no, thank you so much. Sorry, I thought you were going to jump in and say something, but that's from us engineers, and I want to say a massive thanks to
No,
Olivier
me.
for
Thank you.
coming on the podcast and telling us all about Symphony and some of the amazing stuff that you guys and girls are doing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. And links are below for Olivier's LinkedIn profile, the corporate website. Likes, shares, subscribership is what keeps this little ecosystem buzzing around, as you know. So please do go and do that. And as always, bye for now and see you soon. Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Massively appreciate you listening and checking in with us. If you want to find out more about us, and what we're doing, please check us out on social media. What we're trying to do at Engineers is build a community to drive knowledge sharing and experiences. On Twitter, we can be found engineers.io. It's no_. We've also got a website which is engineers.io. These links will all be posted in the description. Any feedback and comments are massively appreciated. We're always looking to improve on where we can. Thanks, guys.